has a special video to share. We'll be hearing from her in a moment. Then in a couple of minutes, we'll be hearing from Jamila White, who will be chairing the special Harriet's Wildest Dreams virtual discussion this evening. And then we will also be joined by Stuart Anderson. This past Saturday at Union Temple, there was a very moving gathering with talking about Trayon, and there was much prayers and much love. Excuse me this morning, folks. I'm I'm having a little challenge these days, but I'm hanging in there. I think it's important for people to hear the different perspectives of love and of caring, and also some of the nuances that's going on with Trayon. The mainstream media is only telling you one side of the story. So with that said, I think let me welcome Prashona and Damien. Damien, are you both on? Let's start with Prashona. Welcome. Prashona, tell us how you know Trayon and give an introduction to yourself, as I'm not able to do it. Tell us who Prashona is. Good morning.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm an educator at Sankofa Homeschool Collective. I'm an organizer with One Love Cooperative Network. I met Trey in my organizing work, actually at Freedom School through the Children's Defense Fund. And we both trained together at Alex Haley's farm in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we've stayed connected ever since. He's supported any One Love work that I've done, any work in the community I've done. He's always been there, and vice versa. Whenever he's needed me to show up, we just, stay siblings in the struggle.
Okay, and we're going to jump right in to a video that you produced. Then we're going to be moving on to different perspectives. Again, it's important for listeners who do not know Trayon. He is greatly loved by many people in the community. And Prashona produced a video about 2 weeks ago that presents certain sides of the story. Not the whole story, but some of it. So, Prashona, tell us the name of your video. Or tell us a sentence about it, then we're going to jump right in.
Sure, yeah. The video is Why I Support Trey, or Why I Stand with Trey. And it's posted on my Instagram, Brown Girls Think, as well as my YouTube. And it just gets into more of the context that we're not typically given, like you were saying.
Okay, so let's hear it, Magic Mike.
Did you hear what happened to Councilmember Trayon White of Washington, D.C.? Let's talk about it. Okay, so essentially, Trey's been accused of accepting a bribe from an organization, but who is that organization and what was the payment for? The organization would have provided services to help stop or interrupt violence in D.C. Okay, so is that a bad thing? Not at all, really, because the city needs it. See, ever since drugs were planted in low-income Black communities all across the country by the U.S. CIA, on top of mass divestment from those communities, the pooling of money and resources from them, violence in them upsurged. This left many low-income Black communities vulnerable. Trey has been the council member of one of those communities deeply impacted by that history, D.C.'s Ward 8. So is taking a payment to push for an organization to reduce violence in his community the worst thing a politician could do? Mind you, Trey himself grew up in this community, experiencing poverty like many other young Black men there. So in a city that routinely deprioritizes the well-being of the poor, if someone is offering you money to ensure that your community gets the services it needs, which is what he's been about from the jump, would that make him a villain or a Robin Hood for his people? Well, if you're the Washington Post or Mary Muriel Bowser, you paint him as the villain. So let's look into their records as well as other key players in D.C. to really develop some savvy political analysis, because the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. That is, until the lion learns to read the goddamn room. Because see, the Washington Post is the same major D.C. paper that routinely praises D.C.'s mayor, Muriel Bowser, who was super quick to publicly condemn Trey for his alleged actions. Now, D.C.'s mayor, Muriel Bowser, routinely gives away away hundreds of millions of dollars in public land and assets to her short list of favorite developers with not one single investigation. DC Council Chair Phil Mendelson is working to remove Trey as the chair of the Committee on Recreation, Libraries, and Youth Affairs, and a majority of council members so far support it. Now, that's the same Mendelson who threatened to take away everyone's right to have referendums on the ballot. That's where if people's grassroots groups get enough signatures to put something like a mandatory living wage on for residents to directly check off and sign into law, yeah, Mendelson threatened to take that power away from DC residents. Now, why do you think he did that? Mendelson, who also orchestrated $500 million of DC taxpayer money to a billionaire arena owner downtown. Now, what was his percent cut? What about Councilmember Anita Bonds, whose other part-time job outside of the council is at Fort Myer Construction Company, who just happens to get much of the street repair contracts in the city? There's the accountability around that. Who even set up Trey? And did it really do what they wanted it to? Well, that is the FBI, the same agency who set up any black leader who puts on for their people too much. Like their COINTELPRO program on Black Panthers, their spies on Billie Holiday for rousing the people with her song Strange Fruit. The list goes on and on. So why was Trayon clearly set up by an FBI informant? Well, let's take a look at Trey's track record. Trayon's job is a legislator. That means he pushes, supports, or rejects ideas for laws in the city. Trey's been a super free public service advocate supporting longer hours and more free services at libraries and rec centers. This is the committee Mendelson's trying to get him out of. Trey's also voted against the Crimnibus, a series of bills proposed by the DC mayor and councilmember Pinto to find more reasons to lock up DC residents and make way for further gentrification. Let's keep it a buck. Trey was also the only council member who voted against schools being able to drug kids without their parents' consent. On the grassroots level, Trey has been the go-to person for community causes. In my own experience, Trey has always stood for my work in the community, knowing I always do it from the heart. And we met as activists many years ago at Alex Haley's farm in Tennessee. And he's been down for me as a fellow community organizer and friend ever since. Even when I don't ask for it, and even when it's giving me hard advice. What about you? How has Trayon White been down for you? The media and powers that be will do what they do to take down a civil servant, just like they did Mayor Marion Barry. But an educated community that knows better, does better. It can't be that easy. So share your experiences of how Trey supported you so the world knows how we fight to keep those down for us.
And thank you. Thank you for that video presenting information that, of course, you do not hear on the mainstream media, presenting one perspective. And, of course, there are many different perspectives about what's happening with Trayon, and we'll also get into soon how it impacts the Ward 8 community. And Prashona, I know you know the fact that for many, many years, Trayon was pushing, trying to encourage the D.C. City Council to address a proposal that he had on poverty. Of course, Ward 8 has the highest amount of poverty in the city, and that issue was never, I don't think it was ever discussed in this council. So again, it's important for people who do not know Trayon White to understand the many good things he has done for this community. And of course, it's important to understand how what is happening will impact Ward 8 and the rest of the city. And with that said, I'm happy to introduce Jamila White, who is the chair, I believe, among many other things. She is the chair of Harriet's Wildest Dreams, which you can hear on this show and on several other shows on WPFW, a very important, progressive, inspiring group of mostly Black young sisters fighting for liberation and for abolition. Welcome, Jamila. I'm told she is on. I was hoping she can give us a little
She's on, Joni.
Jamila, welcome. I would like you to share with the listeners, and we'll repeat it again, what is happening this evening and why is it so important?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Joni, thank you for having me. I hope you all can hear me. I am, as Joni mentioned, the chair of the board for Harriet's Wildest Dreams. And in this capacity, just kind of coming as a resident of Ward 8, we're having a conversation with the community, focusing on members of the community who may not have access as often to different community events, who may not be as visible or engaged in public discourse or civic engagement, but opportunity to reach more neighbors across the community, to have opportunity to hear from them, to talk about what is important to our community and moving us forward. We have some very low voter turnout rates. I was just looking at the voter statistics for the past few elections, and realizing that we rarely have been getting above 25, 30% participation. And so opportunity to really bring a voice to the community, to start engaging in that political discourse, especially when it comes around liberation. Harriet's Wildest Dreams, in addition to the work around liberation, the work around justice, public education, social education is one of the pillars of the work in which the organization does. So this is an extension of that arm to making sure the public, especially those whose voices often aren't heard, who often are not at the table, who don't have access to some of the conversations that I have access with, and people with different types of material privileges or educational privileges may have access to, that they're fully understanding what's going on, and so that we can also understand what are the needs at this time. So that's a real conversation for tonight, and for folks to understand some just the electoral process and the process that the council is going through, and an opportunity to clarify any misinformation that may be out there.
Yes, and we'll jump into that more in a few moments with Stuart Anderson. I just wanted to also mention that Harriet's Wildest Dreams has been, of course, very active in the past week around the young man who was shot. I think it was on Labor Day, September 1st. Can you just give us one or two sentences about the action that Harriet's Wildest Dreams has been taking around this young man, just briefly? Jamila.
Yes, I'll give one or two. I was actually out of town when Justin Robinson was killed on Marion Avenue in the parking lot of McDonald's. Harriet's Wildest Dreams, Black Lives Matter DC, and other organizers, individual activists across the city have banded together to, one, provide the family with support and care that they need during this tragic time, and also understand how this incident happened and call for greater accountability. This is not the first time we've seen a young Black male sleeping or in the car, whether they were sleeping or not moving, and was killed by MPD. We all probably witnessed the case that just went forward a couple weeks ago that happened uptown, where unfortunately a year or two ago, another young Black man was killed in his car as he was sleeping by MPD. So HWD, along with several other organizers and community leaders, and of course with the lead of the family, have been pushing for accountability. And so there was a big community rally this past Friday outside of McDonald's, where the incident took place on Marion Avenue, to really elevate and say his name, making sure that the community, the family knows the community loves them. They love Justin, but also making it known to those with power that accountability is wanted. Conversations are needing to happen to understand what happened. And so HWG has been very active, along with other organizers and community leaders, regarding justice for Justin.
Yes, and Justin was a young man. What was very moving, I found, was that Trayon White had bumped into Justin 3 days before he was killed, and Justin gave Trayon a hug and said, "The community, we love you, and hang in there." That's what Justin said to Trayon. Very, very moving statement. You're listening to WPFW 89.3 FM. This is To Heal DC with me, Joni. We're focusing the rest of the hour on Trayon White, different perspectives. We're going to talk briefly about the very inspiring gathering that took place Saturday morning at Union Temple. We will be following up with additional shows in the future to hear from some of the ministers who spoke passionately at that event. And in a minute, we'll be hearing from Stuart Anderson. I don't know if Damien is on the call. If you want to, Damien, just briefly say something about Saturday.
We're waiting for Damien to join.
Okay. And is Stuart on with us yet? No. Let me then just ask. Let me ask Jamila. Jamila, I didn't properly introduce yourself. In addition to chairing Harriet's Wildest Dreams, you also, I understand, are a professor. Anything else you'd like to share about you?
Yeah. So I chair the board. So not the organization, but the board. The organization is led by some wonderful conspirators. Nene Tay, which many people know, Kiana Johnson, Frankie, and some more. And yes, I teach adjunct at Morgan State University at HBCU up in Baltimore, women and genders class. So really excited to be with young people. The youth are amazing. They're our future. And this semester, we're focusing on Black feminism and really starting from the enslavement of African women in the 1500s to modern day in this country. So it's just a real honor to learn with our young people. And so I think, as we talk about as we continue the discourse around racial justice and Black liberation, there's so much opportunity in Ward 8 that we just don't want to get lost in a conversation. Not only is this freedmen's land, this is literally the home of Freedmen's Bureau. The rich chocolate cityness of DC really comes out of the South Side. And so there's a real effort at the community level to really see equitable investment in our community to tap into that rich history and that rich culture and to really grow our arts and cultural industries and to make opportunities for more jobs, increase adult literacy so that we won't have so many of the disparities that we see. But the opportunities are here. Ward 8 has the highest concentration of youth. We know that youth are the future of every society, and it's a real time for everyone to start investing in Ward 8 and seeing the beauty and opportunity that we have. That's often overshadowed by the disparities. So just want to make sure and elevate that message that, Ward 8 is the future. And there's so much opportunity in our community.
Yes. I want Prashona, we have very limited time. Stuart will be joining us in about 3 minutes, I'm told. But Prashona, would you like to say something briefly about, it was a magnificent gathering on Saturday. I wish we had it recorded. I wish we could play clips from it. But Prashona, please jump in.
Oh, for sure. Saturday was beautiful. It was the community coming together to show support for Trey, for all the work that he's done for the community. It was people from all different faiths, organizations, family, friends, just coming in and letting him know that he is seen and all his work is seen, and the community is uplifting him. One of the words that really struck me, there was a lot of words. Everybody came in with so much power, but one of them is let us not look down on anyone unless we're lifting them up. And I think Brother Ed, I used to go to Black History Studies class with him, and he's a phenomenal instructor and leader. And he said that this isn't Trey's trial, this is the community's, where we show up for the person that's shown up for us. So it's a beautiful, beautiful event. So much power.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And of course, some listeners may not know the extent to which Trayon has put himself out there for the community. We will have some of the ministers on in the future, including Reverend Kendrick Curry from Pennsylvania Avenue Baptist Church in Ward 7. We will also, I'm sure, have one of the ministers with the Nation of Islam who also spoke. The people who spoke were just so passionate. And hopefully at our outro at 10:54, we're going to hear Tyrone Parker, who gave a very passionate support for Trayon. Trayon's mom was there. It was pretty much packed at Union Temple, and it was really quite a historic event. I do not share the optimism. I would like to be optimistic about Ward 8, but I am one of the people who do believe that this is a deliberate effort to weaken Ward 8 by attacking, by what's going on with Trayon being set up by the FBI. I believe that the gentrification is probably the number one goal of the mayor, and if Trayon is weakened, then it's going to affect Ward 8's future. That's why the event this evening is so important. Before we jump into talking about the event, Prashana, real quick, if people want to listen to your video on YouTube, how can they do that? Real quick, otherwise we're going to have to move on.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's Brown Girls Think, and YouTube is the same. It's youtube.com/Brown Girls Think. So if you go on the Instagram and you can click on the playlist and it's under political education, or you can find it on my
Brown
Instagram.
Girls. Okay. Sorry to push you. We only have about very little time left, and we have Stuart Anderson and Damien, and we're going to talk about what's happening this evening and why it's so important. Welcome, Stuart. Stuart, please introduce yourself and with
Joni. Stuart told me to call him back.
Oh boy. Okay, so Stuart had a lot of important things to say about why this event this evening is so important. Damien, do you want to say something? Is Damien on? Otherwise, we'll jump back to Jamila. Okay, Damien apparently is not on either. Jamila, let's just focus with you. For people who want to participate.
Hey, Joni, we right here together, Damien and I. Yes.
Okay, Stuart, please tell us what
can you hear me?
Yes. Please tell us what is happening tonight and why it is so important. And
hold on one second.
We only have 10 minutes. We have very little time left, so people can. Again, this is a Harriet's Wildest Dreams sponsored event this evening from 7 p.m. Anybody can join. It's going to give a different perspective, not just talking about Trayon, but the impact on Ward 8 and the election. If no one can speak to it, I'll do my best. But nobody. Okay, so what Stuart is going to talk about.
I could say something about it. Definitely what you said, Joni.
Okay. I'm sorry. Jamila and Stuart were going to present it. Can you share how people can jump into the program? Prashana.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to jump on what you said about the understanding the context of all of this, like pushing out a leader of Ward 8 who's held Ward 8 down definitely does open the gates to gentrification, which clearly has been like the citywide plan. So, just understanding it, what's at stake is super important. Just wanted to chime in on that.
Okay, and what Stuart and Jamila are going to talk about, I'm not sure they're going to get back on, and I'm not sure what's happening. But the process that the city has to go through to have some form of due process, and Stuart talked with me about that yesterday for quite a while. There needs to be due process. It's fine for the media to try to tear Trayon down as much as they can, but there is still such a thing as law and rules, etc. And that's what's going to be explained tonight by a number of speakers. The process that needs to be taken. I'm sorry to speak for Stuart, but Stuart is. Stuart, please speak up. We're almost out of time. Please speak up.
I was saying, can you hear me? I was trying to speak, but I didn't want to talk over you.
Okay, go for it now.
So real quick, right? My name is Stuart Anderson. Many of you out there at WPFW kind of know who I am and what I do, right? But I'm also the Democratic committee man for Ward 8. I'm also the second vice chair for the Ward 8 Dems. And I had the unique pleasure of being the party leader for the National Democratic Convention that we just had in Chicago. And what I want people to understand is, first and foremost, we cannot jump out there on our emotions and start pushing this idea of removal of Councilmember White because he was arrested. There's a process in place. There's a process in place in the council that has to go and play out its course. There's a process that also takes place with any criminal case. And I'm not talking about Trayon White right now. I'm talking about the safeguards for all residents, not just of this city or of this ward, but of this country. And that is the process of due process. We can't throw that out. We can't throw due process out with the baby in the bathwater. We just can't do that because it is a safeguard for all of us. There is a presumption. The government is bound by this whole process of letting an individual be judged by a judge or a jury and being found guilty or not guilty. And we have to be mindful that we have to protect that. The moment we stop holding people and government accountable to the processes of life, that is when we slide back into a dangerous place. And I don't want people to just do that. I want people to be educated and understand the process. And so let me go through it real quick with the process. I'll give you the legal process, and then I'll talk about the council's process, which has already been started by the chairman, who is my friend, but we'll talk about that. So with this criminal case, Trayon has been arrested. And he had a hearing, there was a bond, and they let him out on bond. And then subsequent to that, he was given a date to return to court. That date is September 19th. In between those two periods, the period when he was released by the judge, the Monday after he was arrested, and the date that's coming up, September 19th, the case went to the grand jury. Grand jury found probable cause to proceed with the case. This is where we are right now. When they go to court on the 19th, that's going to be a preliminary hearing to formally charge Trayon with the indictment handed down by the grand jury. It just took place. It just happened. The next date that they come back in this criminal case will probably be in December, if that. So that's the criminal case. And I'm saying we cannot allow people to kind of crucify Councilmember White before he's had his day in court. Now let's jump to the council real quick. What can the council do? Being pressured by the community, the council can act. Now, how fast can the council act? And what exactly can the council do? The council can, as the chairman has already done, what he is capable of doing. So right now, the chairman is not capable of doing more than what he just did. And that is, he stripped him of his leadership in the committees. The second thing that the chairman did, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong for having done it, is that he created an ad hoc committee. That ad hoc committee is now chaired by Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie. Kenyon McDuffie will convene the ad hoc committee at some point in time. As far as I know at this point in time, he has not convened the committee. They've not met. They haven't publicized anything. But at some point in time, they will. Their recess isn't over until September the 16th. So all of our council members and their staff will be back at work. I doubt very seriously that this issue with Trayon White, council member for Ward 8, will be high on the priority. If it is, then I would say that all of them are derelict in their duties to the broader community, because there are more things at stake and more things that need to be considered, and budgetary reviews to be done, and oversights to be conducted, while they're looking at, the ad hoc committee is looking at the Trayon case. In any event, I don't see the ad hoc committee convene They might meet, but I don't see them handing down a censorship or removal of Councilmember White prior to sometime in December, if that. So here we are again. Now, where does that leave us? Now, the third thing that can happen, let me throw this in here for you guys so that you clearly understand. Councilmember White could resign. I don't believe that he will resign. If I was advising him, I wouldn't advise him to resign. I'm not calling for his resignation. So those are the three scenarios that we have before us.
Stuart, let me ask you a question.
Everybody in the community.
Can you hear me? Please, let me ask you, Mike, I want to ask Stuart a question. Stuart, you very passionately believe that it is not a good thing for all these people to be jumping in and running against Trayon. Please speak to that in the few minutes we have left.
Yeah, not at this time. And that's exactly where I was going. I represent the Democratic Party. I represent the residents of Ward 8 specifically and the Democrats across this city. What will happen if we get 9 people, and all of the people who I've heard names, they're pretty good people. They're probably pretty good, and they probably could do a good job. But the problem is that they're going to break down the Democratic voting base in this ward if they jump into and try to do write-ins for this November 5th. I don't believe that any of them can amass the requisite amount of support to win in less than 65 days. We got less than 65 days before November 5th, and I don't believe that they could do that. That's number one. If they jump in this race, they're going to break down the Democratic voting base, and possibly for the first time in history, we could have a Republican as the leader in Ward 8. And so as a ranking Democratic member of the DC Democratic Party, I'm saying we cannot allow that to happen. I need all Democrats to unite around the idea that we can wait for the special election. And in that process, you will give people a better opportunity to listen to all of these would-be, wannabe council members, and we will be able to pick from them after we hear from them over the course of 2 or 3 months in the various forums that will take place during a special election. So that's what I think should happen. Okay. I think that everybody that's running, I won't name names, okay. You know who you are. I am asking that you stand down and wait for a special election should it come. I'm saying do not jump the gun. Do not jump out here because somebody has been arrested. In a meeting that I was in, I put my hand on a lady that was standing beside me who was about maybe 65 years old. And I said, if they come in here right now and they arrest mama and say she the mule, she's the reason we got drugs in our city, what we going to do? They're going to cart her off down there. They're going to arraign her. They're going to release her, just as they have done Trayon, right? But she ain't got nothing to do with drugs. But we don't know that. We got to wait for the process. And so that's what I've got on today to say is wait for the process. Let's not break down the Democratic vote, the voting base. Let's make sure that the Democrats control. Because if we don't, and we get a Republican in, we stuck with them for 4 years. If Trayon wins in November, which he could if we stick together, then we'll have Trayon White until he is either convicted or resigns. And again, I know that none of that happens before November 5th. So I'm calling upon everybody, November 5th, vote Trayon White.
Okay, Stuart, thank you very much. I want to make sure that we give people the information about how they can check out this evening's community conversation, produced by Harriet's Wildest Dreams. Jamila, can you please tell us who is on that discussion? I know you are, Stuart is, and I believe Councilmember Robert White as well. Tell us what is going to be discussed, and we only have 2 minutes left. You have the final word and how people can access that discussion tonight.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. So it starts at 7 o'clock tonight. We're going to be in community for about an hour and a half, up to 2 hours, depending on how the conversation goes. And we're going to be joined by Councilmember Robert White, who's really going to break down what Stuart just talked about, the council's legal actions and next steps. So people can hear directly from the council what is their course of work. Then we're going to go into an understanding of removal procedures, censure versus expulsion, committees, write-ins, to help folks just understand and process some of this legal language. Then we're going to hear from Stuart, who's going to talk to us about protecting democratic leadership in Ward 8, the political process, legal timetables. We're going to go into a conversation around the criminal legal system that's going to be led by one of our criminal legal system experts, and then just have some time for the community to discuss what they're feeling and what the vision is going forward. Like we said, this is a very, we have a lot of opportunity in Ward 8, and we have to tap into that opportunity. And we are also facing some real crisis in Southside that's really not elevating up, and talk about being prepared for that. And then we'll end it with some community conversation. So this will be an opportunity to cover both the legal aspect, political conversation aspect, but also like what the community can do and how the community can band together, and to provide the community with some resources that they can take forth with them. So it'll be a great conversation. It's virtual, online. You can find the Zoom sign up on Harriet's Wildest Dreams website. You can just Google it and you'll get the link.
Harriet'sWildestDreams.org. Again, everybody is invited to this community conversation that Harriet's Wildest Dreams is producing. As far as I'm concerned, if Harriet's Wildest Dreams is producing it, it's going to be fabulous and very, very important that people listen. We're almost out of time. I'm happy to see that the National Hand Dance Association, in partnership with the D.C. Board of Elections and Anacostia Arts Center, is sponsoring a D.C. Ward 8 voter registration drive on Saturday from 12 to noon at the Anacostia Arts Center. So, folks, this is extremely important, this issue. Whatever you may or may not think about Trayon, he is greatly loved in the community by thousands. And we're going to go out in a moment with what Tyrone Parker had to say, one of many passionate speakers Saturday morning at Union Temple. But not only is Trayon White loved by many, but at Ward 8, I believe that, and many believe that the powers that be do not want Ward 8 to succeed, do not want Ward 8 to grow and expand and and continue to be a ward that is predominantly African American. I believe that there's a move to gentrify, etc. So what Harriet's Wildest Dreams is fighting to say, Ward 8 can remain strong, but people have to remain informed. Damien,
we have a call to the district court on Thursday morning. We're asking everyone to come out starting at 9:30 to go into the courtroom, and the court procedures is going to be starting at 12:30 this Thursday. The call to action to stand with Trayon White at the district court this Thursday. 9:30, we want everyone to be there to start filling the courtrooms, and the session's going to start at 12:30.
Where? I didn't.
District Court. District of Columbia District Court.
Okay, thanks, Damien. We're going out with Tyrone Parker. Thank you, Magic Mike, and thanks to everybody for being a guest this morning. Thanks to listeners.
Brothers, we love you, we respect you, and to God be the glory for all that you've given us, brother, over the years. We will not yield, not one iota, until you retain who you are. We love you.